Hey y'all, what's good? Hope you've been well and enjoying these MIT beats as much as I've been enjoying them. And this is the best of the bunch. Problem 8 and the hardest. Therefore, hence why I'm qualifying it as the best of the bunch. It makes me think, and I think you'll enjoy it. I sent an email to the folks at the MITB, and they responded back very quickly. So I shout out Yan Sheng Ang. But this has been my experience with all MIT alums, so like colleagues Dan Zaharapol and Ted Theodopoulos. Shout out to y'all, and also shout out to all you kids, who have been tuned in and enjoying math videos. That goes for Brar, that goes for Nico, that goes for Max. As far as the quiet time away on this channel, it's because these pestering pests, thorough losers called Freemasons, have been harassing me in all kinds of little ways, trying to keep me busy with the nonsense, right? Trivial matters. What is it? I have a few things to say about them before I jump onto this video. Maybe I'll add a little something at the end. But what did I what did I write? So they don't have any real power. Real power is in the hands of Jesus Christ. These are little pestering pests. They're like roaches, right? This part is off script, right? Just when you think they're gone, they'll find some dirty crevice to crawl out of. But yeah, they only have the power that their God has, which is a power to confuse, obstruct, and be pestering pests, as I said. And I'm not out for fame, so that's partially why I don't care about getting on camera, right? I'm all about the Christ and mathematics, at least on this channel, right? And or in my personal life, all day, every day about the Christ, right? But I'll make one video where I appear on camera, and it will be on group theory, the free group on N letters. But hold on. What did I write about these? I said, go pray on the weak. With the help of my God, the one and only God, the one and only Messiah, Jesus Christ, the all-powerful, mighty Christ. These people have been smoking themselves. So I said, I said, go tell Lil Nas X to stroke you and get lost with your fragile ego. All right, that's about as much, just because, if you read through my community posts, I have, many posts about them, right? I've, coined the phrase, what is it? A patchwork of mediocrity for them, because, there have been some great men among their ranks, but, it's a bunch of, the rest of them, most of them are a bunch of losers who have too much time on their hand, nothing else going on. Okay, hold on. That's all and so I'll, stop talking about them, because, you give legitimacy to things when you talk about them, and even acknowledging these losers. I don't count them as the dirt that sometimes collects under my fingernails. So it's I'm not gonna keep bringing them up. I'm done. But yeah, I had to kind of explain the silence. And the math and the work does the talking. So kind of don't need to talk either, right? All right. Let's get to this. Okay, so as I said, this is quite interesting. I don't know if you know the floor function, floor x from 0 to 1, right, is 0, because the greatest integer less or equal to x, right? So, that's a step function, right? But here we have sine housed in the step function. So, as a solution to this problem, we're going to move by analogy, right? So, for starters, we're going to ignore the 2023 and just look at 1 sine x. And to that end, rather, let's look at a graph, right? And so I use GeoGebra. Thank you, GeoGebra. And all the people who do real work other than being annoying pests, right? Okay, and so using GeoGebra, whoever created GeoGebra, shout out to you also. I have f of floor sine x, which is our integrand. I also have in blue sine x. So floor sine x looks like this. Now let me explain a little bit of why it looks the way it does, right? So this critical number right there is clearly pi, and this is 2 pi, and those are, we start at 0. Those are what we're concerned. So I have a little bit more of the graph that I need or we need, right? Okay. So now, you can choose to break up the interval along the x-axis as you'd like. For example, 0 to 1. So break up this integrand from 0 to 2 pi, from 0 to 1, and 1 to 2, blah, 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 all the way until you get to 2 pi, right? That's a little bit inconvenient, and also you'll need to keep in mind that this here, floor sine x, is about the y values. It's not about the x values. So, a more graceful, like, but if you will, breaking up of the intervals along the x would be like, better than, chopping it up from 0 to 1, blah, 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 though you can do that. The y values you'd have to consider if you broke up the sine x values, or the sine interval along the x, if you broke it up from 0 to 1, the y values you'd have to consider would be weird, right? Okay. So, from 0 to pi, floor sine x is going to return 0, because if you look at the y values from 0 to pi, the least y value achieved is 0. The greatest y value achieved is 1. And there, according to the definition of floor x, but here we have floor sine x, we want the greatest integer less or equal to sine x in this case. As I said, all the y values attained between 0 and pi are 0 and pi are the y values. From 0 to pi attained by sine x are 0 to 1. And there, the greatest integer less or equal to x for those y values is going to be 0. Now, on the other hand, when we consider from pi to 2 pi, the y values attained by the sine function they range from -1 to 0, right? And so then, the greatest integer less or equal to sine x there is going to be -1. Now, I don't know, how much more explaining I need to do. You need to think a little bit more about this yourself. But yeah, like the sine graph here is there as a guidance. Otherwise, what we're integrating are these horizontal lines, right? And remember, we can differentiate any function that has finitely many discontinuities. And we only have 2 discontinuities from 0 to 2 pi here, right? So we're looking at rectangles from 0 to pi and then from pi to 2 pi. And so that's the area here, and then the area of like this 0 thing, right? And so, the rest of what I'm about to show you is just algebra, right? So we break it up naturally in the 2 pieces that floor sine x turns into, like the 2 steps, right? Okay. So we go from 0 to pi. There's a constant value achieved by floor sine x of 0, so we're integrating 0, and then from pi to 2 pi, as I said, it's going to be -1, that's that horizontal bar, right? And in execution, this is pretty straightforward, right? The integral of 0 is 0 from 0 to pi, and then the integral of -1 is x, well, rather negative x, from pi to 2 pi, and we plug and play, and this is what we're going to get, right? And it turns out to be negative pi. Now, what I am most impressed by is whoever kid at MIT figured this out in a very finite amount of time, in the short amount of time that they're asked to figure this out. Because, like I said, I did a lot of thinking. I'm not done here. This is just I sub 1, right? This is the case where the amplitude is 1, right? And so I'm going to show you that it doesn't matter. Notice 1 is odd, just like 2023 is odd. To show you that it doesn't matter if we considered an even amplitude, I'm going to look at 2. And so, we're going to look at what happens. It's a lot more interesting what happens when we look at 2. But for now, see that this, in conclusion, this value is negative pi, and that's what we're going to find. So the answer is negative pi, and hopefully by the time I show you I sub 2, you'll be convinced. I couldn't think of a better explanation than this. Alright, so I recorded this part in 2 parts, for I1, and then a few days passed. I made a lot more of the MITBs and this, and so that gap was to contemplate whether or not I wanted to add anything to what I said at the start, and also to meditate on it. I'll solve this integral. I'll finish solving in a second, but real quick. So I'm gonna say a little something. I wrote 5 bulletin points. Is it 5 things that I wanted to say in conclusion to what I said at the start. And feel free to skip, in case you're accidentally brought in here for integrals and didn't get a chance to skip the starting 3 minutes, then feel free to ignore what I have to add at the end. And so contemplate if I wanted to say it, and then meditate on it for a few days. So here it is. And in case you're wondering why, like, this will be like last time I speak on these people, these pawns of the enemy, the eternal losers, what I like to call them. This is like the last time. I'll say one more thing on my community post, and this is the last time I'll speak on them, and I'll explain at the end why. But in case you're wondering why, because like you're on like a limited amount of time on Earth, and so am I, and like time flies, and we're all gonna have to face the Christ. More than my mom, above everything, the most important thing to me is Jesus Christ, and so this is my calling. I do math as a living, and my calling is serving Christ, the Christ, right? And so I do math as a living, but you have to keep in mind that when you face the music, which is like face the Christ, he's not going to ask you how good were you at integrals. Okay, all right. So before the conclusion, let's get to this, right? So like we considered I sub 1, and we saw that the answer to it was negative pi. And so now we consider I sub 2, which will mean that we consider the floor of sine 2 sine x rather, integrated, right? Integral from 0 to 2 pi. And so I sub 2023 is, okay. So once again, thank you to GeoGebra, whoever made it, sweet, like, deal. And so like I like, graphed both the integral of, not the integral. You can't graph integrals. Integrals are signed area, right? Okay, sorry, not retrogressing. Okay. Anyway, so like graph floor 2 sine x, that's what's in red, along with 2 sine x in blue. Here, it's color coded, right? And so like, the graph is neat and interesting, but it's not as revealing as like, like what we're gonna have to do to figure out the critical numbers that like tell us where these horizontal lines start and end. In other words, where the 2 sine x under the floor function, like, gets these steps up and down, right? Okay. So to figure them out, right, what we need to consider are the couple of following equations. One, this, right? So 2 sine x equals 1. So we can figure out where the 2 sine x graph in blue is equal to 1. In other words, to catch this spot and this spot, right? And this is just basic trigonometry. Right? It's a basic trigonometric equation, and if you solve it, you're going to get pi over star and 5 pi over star. Now, I defined what star is. It's an integer between 5 and 7. I know you think I'm tripping, but, like, in the Bible, like, it speaks of the 3 stars, right? This number, and, I know, more than I know how to solve this integral, that Jesus Christ is God. And so, like, if it's in the Bible and it's communicated as a word of God, then I don't want to, like, help bring about the end. So whatever I can do on my part to avoid, like, whatever is a bad sign or like a bad omen according to the Bible, I'm going to steer clear of it. So I know you think I'm tripping, but I know what I'm doing, okay? So star is that number between 5 and 7, that integer. Cool. Let's keep it moving. So we just realized that this number right here, pi over star, is this x coordinate. And 5 pi over star is this other x coordinate. And so then the floor function is going to reduce, as I talked about it sufficiently, like in the first part, is going to reduce all values, all y values to 1, and therefore why this red line, like from this spot to this spot, obviously to 0, from 0 to this spot, right? Okay. And there's some symmetry to it, and you get it, you should get it, right? Okay. So the other important x coordinates we need to identify are found by solving this equation, and that is for identifying like this part, right, and this part, right? We know where 2 sine x is equal to 2 and negative 2. That's at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 respectively. We're not so curious about that. We want to know like the y values in between where they get downgraded to negative 2, and those start at this x coordinate here and this x coordinate here, right? And like it's a line right there and right there, right? Okay. And we find them by solving this equation, right? And when we solve, like I needed to make some space, I was crowded out. When we solve that, it's a simple trig equation just like this one, and we're going to learn that it's 7 pi over star and 11 pi over star. So that identifies this x coordinate and this x coordinate. Because ultimately then what we're going to have to do is integrate a bunch of integrals. A degenerate integral, slow down. Integrate a bunch of rectangles, right? A rectangle drawn here, and a degenerate rectangle here, there, a rectangle drawn here, and a signed area, right? We need to keep in mind whether it's positive or negative. Now, clearly the heights of the rectangles are easy to identify. 0 here, 1 here, blah, blah, blah. And negative 2 here, well, technically 2. But what's important is that we found these critical numbers because they define the widths of the rectangles. They define the widths of the rectangles. And the widths are going to be numbers that involve pi because, well, these x coordinates involve denominations of pi, right? Okay. So we proceed. And so that means that we have to parse this integral up in the bits that are defined by these critical numbers, these 4 ones, and obviously 0 and 2 pi on the extreme ends, right? Okay. So we do that. So that means we write this integral. As you could see from the visual, like this integral and this integral are going to be 0 because they're degenerate rectangles, as I said, right? Okay. So we discard those, and that's all I'm showing here. And then, like, this is just simple integrals, right? 1 dx negative 1, blah, 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 right? Okay. So there it is, and then it's like arithmetic left, right? Okay, I probably shouldn't have to handhold. Like you see in this part, I reduced 2 over star into like 1 over 3, as you'll see in the next slide, right? Okay, that's not hard to follow. And yeah, and here something that's a little bit hard to follow is like what's lumped in here, blah blah blah, right? So this is lumped into that, and then this is what has turned into what's in the yellow, right? And furthermore, like we need to get common denominators, so we need to take the yellow and like get it under a star, and that's why the 4 turned into an 8. Okay, and so if you do the number crunching, it comes out to negative pi. Oh, wait, isn't that the same as I sub 1? Oh yeah, it is. So I sub 1 equals negative pi equals, okay, you get the point. So our integral is equal to negative pi. And so now for the fun part, right? First of all, truth be told, they've had like some incredibly impressive people among their ranks, and also like countless many very impressive people that were not among their ranks. That said, Freemasons, that is, and this is the only time in the rest of what's to come that I will name them by name. Okay, but like what it is like I like seeing that they're impressive in ways, or like there are a lot of losers among their ranks, but there are some really impressive people among their ranks, right? And so like I had to be like, what is it that they're really attached to? Just like how I had to think hard about this integral, I thought hard to try and understand them. And I recently learned that it's like, or figured out that it's like, it's the same attachment that I have to Manchester United. It doesn't make sense why, like, I love Manchester United so much. In other words, it's just tradition and nothing more than that. Like, and it's just tradition passed on from, like, generation to generation. Stop passing on hate. Stop spreading on devil worship. And, like, like, why they work so hard to get people among their ranks. And by the way, like, there are a bunch of people who, like, kind of, like, out of coercion and, like, needing to feed their kids and having an easier life join, and for not, like, a belief in it, or, like, for no other reason than, like, them situationally being forced. And that's pitiful. Like, the people have to be situationally forced into devil worship. That's not okay. But, this is true of everyone. But, like, that old adage, misery loves company. And so, like, it doesn't matter who your hero is. Like, in the end, your hero wants you to, like, follow, like, their path, because we all aspire to, like, have others, and no man is an island. Everybody, like, including me perhaps, like, as much as I try hard not to, like, want acknowledgement or like confirmation from others. And so, like, other than misery loves company, it's like really, like, everyone wants to live a life that is like that they feel comfortably justified by others. Like, that's not the right phrase, but like that like they want others to certify like their way of life. For example, like I had someone I really love who's like a lifelong teacher, and he was really happy when I said like I want to be a lifelong teacher. Or I didn't say I don't want to be, like that's for sure not the case. I said like, it wouldn't be the worst deal if I was a lifelong teacher who's happy because it justified his life choices. And so, people just like are more comfortable with like others like confirming that, their mode of existence is like okay and fine and blah blah blah, right? And also like, they want influence, and that's true of everyone and anyone. Like I'm not speaking to my mom right now because she can't stop like nagging me about the same thing. And so even my mom, even your mom who like loves you and wants to, there's like no denying everyone's mom with rare exceptions, like my mom loves me. Like everyone's mom like loves you, but it's kind of biologically forced, right? But in the end, even your mom like wants to have influence in your life, and so it's all about influence and control. And no one really has true influence and control over another other than Jesus Christ. Now, if you choose to allow others to influence you and whatever, like it's your choice. Jesus also gave us all free will, and so yeah. All right. Second is with I say with the help of Jesus Christ, been crushing and gonna keep rocking them, and everyone can be touched except those protected by a heavenly force, aka the Christ. So that was really my second bulletin point. So I'll keep it moving fast. Like, that's not even something I really want to say. Like, I want to win them over with love, but like they're so committed to their ways and so stuck in their ways that like, like I have tried. Trust me. But I'm praying for them. I prayed for them today. Like the Christ open up their eyes, and because ultimately the biggest enemy is the eternal loser. I hate his name too, so I don't want to say it. And so, they're just like vehicles for him. And so I prayed for them. So the Christ, enter their heart and open their minds and such, blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay, 3 is I am 100% confident that these are the people that the Christ said are the synagogues of Satan and not the Jewish people. And I'll qualify by saying like, so like, like if there was like a rank on like, or like a contest for like, who hates butt kissing, I would like hands down kick everybody's butt like in the whole universe, like literally, not just the earth, right? 7 million people, I'll come out number one and someone who goes out of their way to not butt kiss, right? But like there's been a lot of Jewish hate of recent, and all forms of hate are from the enemy, the eternal loser. And so like the Christ, whom actually a good chunk of people, Jewish people worship as their God. They call him Yahweh, Yeshua, instead of Jesus Christ. And I refuse to call him by any other name besides Jesus Christ. But there's a good chunk of Jewish people who like believe in Jesus Christ as the only Messiah. So like back in the time of the Christ, all forms of worship. Not all forms, my bad, I'm talking too fast. All places of worship are called synagogues. And so, naturally, then the Christ would refer to, like, like Masonic temples as synagogues. And so I'm 100% confident that when Jesus Christ says the synagogues of Satan and the rulers of darkness, that he's not talking about Jewish people, but he's talking about Masons. And the rulers of darkness is just like, they're outdoing Satan at this point. Hold on. I wanted to say a little something. Oh yeah. So the other thing is like, I just like this integral, I do not like talking about anything when I'm not 100% sure of. So like, there's like Zionist Jews, like, which the real Jews like don't like and so on. Like, I refrain to like call even Zionist Jews my enemy because, or the enemies of Christ, and anyone who's the enemy of Christ is automatically my enemy. I refuse to call them the enemy of Christ because, well, like, I haven't done enough fact checking and learning about them. There are some claims that the Zionist Jews like just want Israel as their land that they're given to them by the Christ. And like from my understanding, and again, like, verdict is still out on this, but like I'm quite confident that like that's that he meant that for them, right? So if Zionism is just like let's like go back to the land that the Christ was going to return us to. They call him Jesus of Nazareth. They don't call him Jesus of East LA or whatever, Compton, right? For a reason. So he is from there, and that's God, Jesus Christ. And so like, but so again, like this is to just like stamp on, double down on, like I do not co-sign the Jewish hate, and so I do refer to Masons as synagogue of Satan, but it's not the Jewish people that I'm 100% confident that Jesus meant by the synagogues of Satan. It's Masons and rulers of darkness, and I call them, and I'm confident because I have personal. It's not secondhand, like whatever. Like it's personal, like experience with them that I'm drawing from and saying some of these things. They sow division among people, so they can pose like they have power when it's all fake power. And like they used a few girls, like 3 or 4, like to come at me, like to hook me with girls and so on. And they find like wretched narcissistic witches, right? And like one of them is like Eritrean, right? And so it's like, but then in the end, like with a couple of the girls, like they made it very clear in my experience that they didn't care about the girls. They broke the girls, right? And that's not okay. Like in other words, they don't even care about their own. Like, and Castro is a Mason, and like they were trying to shoot him. So it's like this institution serves no one, and these people serve no one other than that eternal loser. Like, because they don't even like care about the pawns that they use, who like sign up for it out of narcissism, thinking that they're gonna put them on a pedestal and keep them there. Okay. That was a lengthy note, so I'm almost done. 4. So there are Masons in my building that live in my building, and like only one of them, like because I heard it from his own mouth, like is I can say confidently. Again, I would like to say anything that I'm not 100% sure of. The others, they're beyond sus. But anyway, this dude is like really short. Now I'm short, so it's like really short, right? And like he even has the nickname Shorty. And I thought like Shorty's something that you like call like a girl you're dating. He's probably like somebody Shorty in the Masonry clan. And so it's like an app description. So like, one of their claims is that like that they like, make men better. So like this dude like came to like do my floors, right? He was supposed, because my landlord asked him like do my floors, redo my floors. This was 2 years ago, right? And so like several months passed by. First of all, even in the parts that he finished, he did a mediocre, like terrible job, right? And so like, but in the parts that he finished, right? So he's like, I'll come back and finish it, right? And so like 7 months passed by, right? And then like, I'm like, hey, what about, he's like, I'm sick right now. Like, come Thanksgiving, I'll do it then, right? And so like comes, Thanksgiving comes and goes, and I'm like, hey, what about, okay. And so basically in short, like fast forward, like, 2 years later, I called him out and I'm like, dude, like it's been 2 years and my floor's still not finished. And he like basically like had like a rage episode. So he's like twice my age. And his response to like somebody telling him you haven't finished something for 2 years is to snap. And he still hasn't finished it. And I don't care, like, right? Because like I grew up in Africa, right? And I don't care, like. And it's like, whatever. Like, my space is, like, clean enough to my liking, right? But, point is that, like, how are you telling me that you make men better, like, when you've got this, like, immature, like, 73-year-old who's, like, less mature than a 14-year-old and, like, completely lazy. And okay, all right. Last note is that, like, I'm hoping that, like, this is a sick joke, and like a way to like catch all the lazy bastards who like to cut corners and like not earn anything, because I've never seen people work so hard and bend over backwards to like make sure that they don't compete on an even playing field. And more importantly, like I think it, like pretty much everyone who's honest like can identify to this. The reason why we love America and we believed in America is because like all the bad guys eventually get caught in America, except for these Just okay, all right. Do I need to say anything more? No. Christ, they can suppress his voice, like, do not, like, like, have them stun on this video, like, I'm not gonna speak on them again. If they stun on this video, you know what to do, Father, Jesus Christ, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, I love you. Alright, everyone, like, again, like, I've talked about them abusively, and tied to the last note, actually, what I wrote down is, like, stop talking about them, because, like, any time that you give people attention, like, even negative attention, they feed off that and stuff, and like, the best way to deal with, like, some of your op is, like, to just shh. And, like, before I'm quiet and, ignore these, like, people, like, forever and ever, which is that, like, I forgot to say this, which is that, like, I'm not trying to be no hero, whatever, right? I'm trying to be a hero only to Jesus Christ. As I said, this is my calling, right? The math is just like pastime. My favorite pastime. Alright, at this point. But like, that's not what I wanted to say. Like, so, like, Kanye, like, right? Like, has, like, huge fans. And, like, I mean, he's, like, a beat-making genius. But, like, he's not even the best at that, quite frankly, right? And I don't need to go on a tangent who I think who's the best at that. Like RZA made a couple of beats I think would give Kanye a run for his money, if it must be said. But there are others, right? Anyway, like, I know you love Kanye, and I know you think, like, he represents Christians and he represents black people. He does not. I'm quite confident that he's a Freemason, number one. And number two, he's like a rich crackhead. Like, so there's the Jesus Walks With Me song, right? And then he has, go and listen to So Appalled. He says in the song So Appalled, praises to the Most High Allah. Wait, what? I thought, what happened to Jesus, right? I thought you were a Christian, right? He's a rich crackhead. So, like, and saying that Kanye's confused, I'm not by any means suggesting that, like, I do not like Muslims. I grew up with my best friend is a Muslim. I love the Iranian people. And, like, like, Jesus Christ is the only God, and I believe that. But if you believe in something else and you think Jesus is a prophet, I think you're wrong, but you're allowed that. And so, Jesus gave us free will once again. I'm just, like, not, like, interested in anyone coercing me to, like, be aligned to or, like, subscribe to or, like, in any way like anyone who follows an ugly beast like the enemy, the eternal loser. This is a PS on the PS, but if Zionism is somehow, like, Baphomet worship, well, they can go to hell with the Freemasons. Only thing I have left to wonder is, like, if they really think I'm the problem, why don't they just kill me? Everybody, like, the Christ wants you to love one another. Black, white, Mexican, Cuban, Palestinian, Jew, Jew, Palestinian, Chinese, American. You get it. All right.